Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshipper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again come. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshipper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Ours is no caravan of despair. Ours is no caravan of despair. Ours is no caravan of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Ours is no caravan of despair. Ours is no caravan of despair. Ours is no caravan of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Ours is no caravan of despair. Ours is no caravan of despair. Ours is no caravan of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Ours is no caravan of despair. Ours is no caravan of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again come.
You are welcome here.
No matter your religious beliefs or lack of belief, you are welcome here.
No matter your age, sex, sexual orientation or gender identity, you are welcome here.
No importa tu ciudadanía, tú estás bienvenido aquí.
No matter your citizenship, politics,
or relationship status.
No matter your physical characteristics or health, you are welcome here.
Whoever you are, wherever you are from,
you are welcome in this place. Good morning and welcome to the online worship service of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Montgomery for Sunday, July 25th, 2021. I speak to you from the lands of the Muskogee Creek people here in Montgomery, Alabama. My name is Lynn Hopkins, and it is my honor to serve this congregation as its minister. I'm so glad that you could join us this morning. I'd like to invite you into this hour of worship with these words from Alan Watts. We must here make a clear distinction between belief and faith, because in general practice, belief has come to mean a state of mind which is almost the opposite of faith. Belief, as I use the word here, is the insistence that the truth is what one would leaf or wish it to be. The believer will open his mind to the truth on the condition that it fits in with his preconceived ideas and wishes. Faith, on the other hand, is an unreserved opening of the mind to the truth, whatever it may turn out to be. Faith has no preconceptions. It is a plunge into the unknown. Belief clings, but faith lets go. In this sense of the word, faith is the essential virtue of science and likewise of any religion that is not self-deception. I invite you to join me, if you would like, in speaking aloud our congregational covenant. We, the members and friends of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Montgomery, promise to serve our community with open minds, willing hearts, and helping hands as we respect one another, honoring that our perceptions may differ, value our differences, working to better understand them in conflict, give joyfully of ourselves, being in harmony with our capabilities, and embrace our connections with each other, nature, the global community, and the great mystery of life. And now we'll hear from our coordinator of religious education, Roger Burdett, with A Time for All Ages.
Good morning. I really tried for this story to get a beautiful shot of the sunrise. So I headed out of the big city, away from the big city lights, into the country. And alas, it was a really foggy morning, but that's okay. Here we are at Lake Martin. You can hear crows. You can see the sun still kind of rising. Listen, I don't engage in a lot of hyperbole, like overselling something, but I am telling you that today's story can actually save a life. Welcome to this very important, life-saving time for all ages. So to put this story in context, I want to introduce you to my granddaughter. Dear Lord, I could gush for hours about her, but I won't. Recently, though, she saw Grandpa, or Ampaw, as she calls me, looking like this. And she said, Ampaw, you have a boo-boo? Indeed, I did. I had skin cancer removed from my nose, and previously in my life, I've had other skin cancer removed from my body. Now, how did this happen? Let's go back many years to this adorable little blonde-headed kid. That is me. My early years were spent in Hawaii. Many years ago. My mom will tell you right now, they didn't really put sunscreen on me. And my little blonde-headed self got out there and played in the water and got sunburned over and over and over again. And all these years later, I have skin cancer removed from my nose. Part of my ear has been cut away. So, that leads me to this story. Let's turn this into a teachable moment that could actually, I am not joking, save a life. I found this book. It's called, Hey, Don't Forget the Sunscreen. It's written by Kimberly Galletti Kennedy, who grew up in Ohio, but now lives with her husband down in extreme South Florida. She and her husband have both had extensive work done to remove skin cancer, so she wrote this book. Let's see what we can learn. By the way, these illustrations are by J.Z. Sigario. Hi, let me introduce myself. My name is Stacy. Today is Sunday, and we're shopping at the local grocery store like we usually do. I look forward to seeing my friends because they shop there too. There's John with his Aunt Donna by the ice cream case. When I get closer, I see that John's aunt has a bandage on her face. Kinda like the bandage I had on my face recently. I look up and I politely ask, what's wrong? Kind of like my granddaughter, who does not, at this point, have the vocabulary to say, Grandpa, what's wrong? So she said, Ampaw, got boo-boo? In this story, the woman simply said, when I was your age, I played unprotected in the sun for too long. Well, Stacy said, we read in school that the sun helps our bodies make vitamin D, and vitamin D helps fight disease and helps keep our bones strong. And that's true. Hey, look, the sun is great for us. There are lots of benefits. But back to the story. That's true, she said, but you still need protection from the ultraviolet rays even on those cool and cloudy days. Look at today. It's a cloudy day. Can you get sunburned on a cloudy day? I know I often say to you, do some research. Do some research on that. You might be surprised you can get significantly sunburned on a cloudy day. Check it out. So I asked Aunt Donna, what's the bandage for? She pointed to her nose and said she had a sore, one that would not go away. Just like me, that's exactly what happened. I had a sore that wouldn't go away. So she made an appointment with her doctor one day. Well, what's the big deal? Aunt Donna called it skin cancer, and it's damage from the sun. There are 3 forms, and it can affect anybody: basal cell, squamous cell carcinoma, and melanoma. Wow, serious stuff. I would like to learn more, says Stacy. What is the difference, and what can I do to protect myself from sun damage? So the aunt said, well, I have basal cell. It grows on the surface of the skin, and this is the kind of sun damage that is most common. And then, the story goes, there is squamous cell carcinoma. If that's not treated, it can go beyond the surface to other parts of the body. That's some serious stuff. Melanoma is the most dangerous if not treated. It's also hereditary, which means it can be found in the family genes. Aunt Donna continued, so this is what you can do to be proactive. Aunt Donna is talking directly to you guys and me, because you know what? Despite all my history of my family not putting sunscreen on me when I had much blonder hair, although I'm a very outdoorsy person, honestly, I'm still not always real good at putting sunscreen on my body. I should get better. So this is what you can do. First, you should never smoke. That you already know. It makes your skin age fast and heal very slowly. And then always apply water-resistant SPF 30 SPF, sun protection factor. Apply this water-resistant sunscreen before you go out into the sun and reapply every couple of hours. But, she says, there's more. She also says, wear a hat. Don't forget, your eyes also need attention. Some cool shades with UVA and UVB protection. So now Stacy is conflicted. She's like, yeah, but I'm supposed to get vitamin D. If I'm going to protect myself from the sun, how do I get vitamin D? Aunt Donna replied, small amounts of sun exposure, along with your sunscreen, helps manufacture all the vitamin D that your body needs. Enriched orange juice, milk, and salmon also help, and a 1-a-day multivitamin would be good for you. So here's a pretty nice picture of Aunt Donna's bandage on her nose. As we said goodbye with a kiss and a hug, I promised Aunt Donna that I would pass this lesson on, which I am doing to you. Don't be afraid to go out and have some fun. Go to Lake Martin. It's beautiful out here, but make sure you have protection from the sun. The end. And this has been a story that, no kidding, could save a life.
We have a practice each week to take a moment to lift up and let go the things that we carry with us during the week. It is a time of community, fellowship, and collective prayer. I'm grateful for the start of the Olympics, although I confess I have mixed feelings about its significance, its relevance, and the expenditures to make it happen under current world conditions. Nonetheless, it provides us a moment of celebration and joy and communication across boundaries. If you didn't see the opening ceremonies, I recommend that you take the time to pull it off of YouTube. I'm grateful for our new board and officers getting their work underway. And I'm grateful too for those who have left room and made the pathway clear for them to come in and serve our fellowship in this way. I'm grateful to all of those who have stepped up, volunteered to serve in various ways in the coming year. I lift up those who continue to suffer in this pandemic, those who continue to face uncertainty in their employment, income, housing, those who are contending with food insecurity and concerns for families. I just want to extend our compassion and concern for all of those, known and unknown to us. I invite you now to use the chat feature adjacent to the video to speak whatever is on your heart. This morning, the celebrations as well as the concerns, the worries, the sadness, and the joys, whatever it is, let us be together in this space for this time.
When you're weary, feeling small, when tears are in your eyes, I'll dry them all. I'm on your side. When times get rough, when pain is all around, like a bridge over troubled water, I will lay me down like a bridge over troubled water. I will lay me down. When you're down and out, when you're on the streets, when evening falls so hard, I will comfort you. I'll take your part. When darkness comes, when pain is all around, sailing right behind, like a bridge over troubled water. I will ease your mind like a bridge over troubled water. I will lay me down.
Okay, here's a question for you. What do Unitarian Universalists, Jehovah's Witnesses, and Oneness Pentecostals have in common? It's not a riddle. This guy. His name was Michael Servetus, although there are a number of variations on the name as well as some pseudonyms that he used during his lifetime. Servetus is the name by which he is most commonly known. He lived from either 1509 or 1511, the record is unclear, until he was executed in 1553. Unitarian Universalists, Unitarians in particular, have claimed Michael Servetus as the first Unitarian martyr of the modern era. That's how I came to know the name many years ago. He wrote a treatise entitled On the Error of the Trinity. And in the end, John Calvin had him killed for heresy. Like most of our beloved stories from history, of course, the truth isn't nearly so clean and simple. Servetus wasn't a Unitarian as we would think of it these days. He did believe that the person of Jesus was divine, a manifestation of God, the only Son of God. He took issue with the logical and semantic gymnastics that the dominant church used to construct the concept of the Trinity, one God in three persons. Michael Servetus is honored and regarded as spiritual ancestor by Jehovah's Witnesses and Oneness Pentecostals because he argued against the concept of the Trinity, which many saw and still see today as contradicting the principle of one God. And yet he maintained the God nature of Jesus. Servetus is honored and regarded as a spiritual ancestor by Unitarian Universalists because he made a straightforward, logical, elegantly reasoned argument against the requirement for people to accept the doctrine of the Trinity. He wasn't trying to start a new religious sect. Rather, he wanted to convince the church of what was so obvious to him. Servetus was a scientist. He worked to apply scientific reasoning to all the areas of life. Now, Michael Servetus was devoutly religious. He was what we might think of today as a zealot. The truth of the Gospels for him was at the center of everything he did, and he did a lot of stuff. Under his picture, you will see titles like geographer, cartographer, lexicographer, translator, physician, physiologist. He is recognized as a pioneer in the emerging field of anatomy in the company of Da Vinci and Vesalius. He was the first European to accurately describe pulmonary circulation, how the body circulates oxygen from the lungs throughout. Although in truth, the scientists in the Islamic world had documented it a few centuries earlier, it's pretty certain that the Europeans were not exposed to that. He contributed to the existing body of knowledge on the brain and nervous system, digestion, disease process, formulation of medical treatments, all sorts of specific areas around physiology and the application of medicine. He was also a cartographer, a maker of maps. He was a prolific translator of biblical texts and other sacred works. He gained notoriety for his scholarly scientific advancements in the academic community of the day, but his writings make clear that Servetus' motivation in pursuit of knowledge of the human body was in fact an expression of his ardent religious studies. He was trying to understand how the Holy Spirit acted on and in the human body. In his view, all of the discoveries that he made about biology continually confirmed his own theological convictions, which were derived from his own studies of the scriptures. Now, Servetus is often described as a humanist, and it's true in the historical context of the Renaissance, but it is a very different sort of humanist from what we think of today. He was a humanist in that he believed that God was present in human bodies through the movement of the Holy Spirit. He believed that reason and science were holy endeavors, and that studying human biology and behavior was a way of learning about and getting closer to God. Now, tragically, as you are no doubt aware, religious establishment, and especially theocratic governments, have a murderous track record of intolerance for ideas that are different from the ones that they espouse and demand others to believe. And it probably did not serve his purposes in the end, but he was outspoken in that area as well. You see, he advocated an idea that we in Unitarian Universalism embrace, that everyone has some of the truth, but everyone is subject to error. He refused to throw in with either the Catholics or the Protestants in any of their many incarnations, saying that both sides had much that was valid and true, but both sides had mistakes in reasoning that they just could not see. We will all make errors, he insisted, so we need to take all the perspectives into serious consideration in our quest. In fact, I don't think it would be an overstatement to suggest that he may very well have been the first prominent figure in mainstream religious discourse to advocate for a lifelong, free and responsible search for truth and meaning, as expressed in the fourth principle of our Unitarian Universalist covenant. But trouble is, that was not a welcome message by the religious or civil authorities of the day. And to be perfectly frank, there was little or no distinction between the religious and civil authorities, no matter what European nation you occupied at the time. John Calvin, a major figure in the European Reformation, he'd once been part of a persecuted minority. He himself had declared a moral imperative for the government, for authorities to be tolerant of religious diversity. But once he rose to power, he abandoned all such notions. And he was, in fact, quite fervent in his persecution of those who taught ideas that he regarded as heresy. At the height of his power, he was requiring compliance and obedience to moral strictures in the personal, private lives of all of the residents. As it turned out, he was anything but a Christ-like leader. And Michael Servetus made a true and lasting enemy in John Calvin. Servetus had already been convicted and sentenced to death by the Catholic Church for heresy in the Spanish Inquisition. He managed to escape imprisonment, fled Spain, took an assumed name for his own survival. And now he was witnessing the Protestant movement that had held so much hope, taking the same sort of violent actions as the Catholics. He declared openly a principle that, frankly, we take for granted when we're thinking of justice martyrs today. When you kill somebody for his ideas, you're not destroying the ideas, you're simply taking a life because someone is different from you. And that can scarcely be regarded as righteous in any context. He went further, declaring it's not only unreasonable and unjust, but ultimately futile to attempt to coerce religious beliefs. One's convictions, he explains, are not things that one chooses of one's own volition. Rather, our convictions come to us through divine revelation and human reason. Now, the way Servetus met his end is a story that I think is full of intriguing, sometimes startling, sometimes actually funny details. It's messy and it's complicated, and some of the accounts differ, but it is clear that he showed up where he knew Calvin would be, and Calvin had him arrested for heresy. He was tried, he was convicted, and he was burned at the stake. Such can be the consequence of refusing to abandon one's own truth, especially when you believe, as Michael Servetus did, that it's a truth that has the potential to save humanity from grave error. Now, Michael Servetus never actually sought to challenge or disrupt the church that he truly, earnestly loved as the body of Christ. What Servetus sought to do was call it back to its authentic and eternal truth that had been corrupted by human striving for power. Servetus continues to be celebrated today, not only by religious historians and religious minorities like us, but legal historians and political historians, because Servetus is credited with broadcasting and establishing in our culture the principle that every person has a right to individual conscience. His anti-orthodox spiritual convictions and religious ideas influenced figures like René Descartes, John Locke, Jean-Jacques Rousseau, and Thomas Jefferson. The spiritual principles that we know as inherent in Unitarianism today, instigated in many ways by Michael Servetus, were integral to the founding documents of our nation. His story is yet another example of how the attempt to eliminate a heretical idea can ultimately lead to that idea becoming disseminated and widely accepted in a later age. It's also an illustration of how a government's opposition to a religious movement is often the one thing that assures its permanence. When you are part of a movement that seeks to transform the world, the last thing you want is the approval of the government. For Servetus, these ideas, the idea that religious authorities cannot be given license to just make up philosophical constructs to explain what they don't understand in the Bible, and they cannot be allowed to require specific doctrine or creedal elements in their religious practice. And they cannot be allowed to suppress or repress the individual right to conscience. These things were reason enough that Michael Servetus was prepared to give his life, which is a potent reminder that we are part of a movement that is worth giving our all, not for our own sakes, but for the sakes of our children and the generations yet to come.
As I want you to be, as a friend.
I hope you'll come over to Zoom and join us for second hour. Let's have a little conversation about all this. Or talk about something else if there's something else pressing on your mind. During the week, we have a number of activities going on, so keep an eye on the Weekly Beacon and on the calendar. If you go to our website right now, you'll notice something new. Under Programs, there's a section for outside organizations in which I am listing things that are going on beyond our walls that some of us might be interested in. So if you know of something, send it to me. I'll try to keep it up to date and get things removed as is appropriate, but take a look at it. You might find something that's interesting to you. We will have our next in-person gathering on the second Sunday in August, which is not the coming Sunday, but the one after that. I hope to see you there if you're fully vaccinated and feeling well. If not, you can always join us online. The Facebook Live thing is a little awkward, but we're making it happen. And we also figured out how to get the second hour online as well. So please join us. I look forward to seeing you soon. And for now, our service has ended. May our service begin.
Sometimes I feel the fear of uncertainty stinging clear, and I can't help but ask myself how much I let the fear take the wheel and steer. It's driven me before, and it seems to have a vague, haunting mass appeal. But lately I'm beginning to find that I must be the one behind my wheel. Whatever tomorrow brings, I'll be there with open arms and open eyes, yes. Whatever tomorrow brings, I will be there. I'll be there. So if I decide to wave my chance to be one of the high, have I chosen water over wine? Will I hold my own and drive? It's driven me before, and it seems to be the way that everyone else gets around. But lately I'm beginning to find that when I drive myself, my life is bound. Whatever tomorrow brings, I will be there with open arms and open eyes, yeah. Whatever tomorrow brings, I will be there. I'll be there. That song came out when I was in high school, and my little sister, who is 6 years younger than I am, And I used to sing that in our Ford Aerostar. I would drive, and Joy would sing the harmonies with me. Yeah. Whatever tomorrow brings, I'll be there.